Hello everyone, my name is Elaine Foley. I'm a functional consultant here at Sikich. Today we are going to do an overview of the Solver BI360 Cloud Portal. So our demo today is going to be a 1-hour demo, and it's going to explore the basics of the BI360 Cloud Portal. So by the end of this, users should have enough knowledge just to navigate through the Cloud Portal, through all the different modules, particularly the following modules here. We're just going to do a high-level overview of each of these. Without further ado, let's just dive in here and take a look at our Cloud Portal. So you'll see here that I've logged into our Sikich environment. So this is just a demo, but for your own portal, it would be a cloud.bi360.com web URL. So what we're looking at here is the home page inside the Cloud Portal. And as of right now, this is not something that you can configure. This is just a general screen that Solver will populate. So right now, this just has some additional information about Solver and BI360. And this may be anything from informational news here, or it might be telling you that there's an update out there. So this data on this dashboard will vary. And then if you look up in the upper right-hand corner, we have a few other options here. So the first that we're going to look at is our notifications. Your notifications here are often going to be either news of an update or a notification saying that someone has shared a report with you or sent a report to your archive. So these notifications here are going to be individual to each user. And then here you have some feedback if you wanted to give Solver any kind of feedback on how they could improve their BI360 Cloud Portal, you can certainly do so here. And then you have your help button here, which is going to open up this pane, and what you'll see here is going to vary depending on which tab we're in. So right now we're on the home tab, so it's giving us some more information about our home page here. But like I said, this will vary depending on which BI360 Cloud page we're on. And then on your upper right hand corner here, you'll see you have your user and you have this drop down arrow, so I can expand this out. And if I wanted to, I could jump into my profile, which is going to jump down into my settings. Or I can look at my different tenants. So let's say out here I have Sikich, and then I have Sikich Corporate Demo, but I could have a production, and then I could have a sandbox or a test environment. So if you were to purchase different tenants, you could do so. This is how you would oscillate between the two of them. And then you have your About screen here, and your About screen is just going to be helpful here to snag that version that you're on in case you guys ever need to submit a support request with Solver. This is where you could come in here and find out what BI360 Cloud version you're on. And then lastly, you could just sign out here. You guys will not have this customer one. Most likely, this is mostly just for partners. Okay, so that's kind of a little bit of an overview of your options here on your home screen. And then if we switch gears and look over here on the left-hand side, you'll see that we have this collapsible menu here, and we have all these different icons showing our menu. So let's go ahead and expand that out. So we just looked at our home screen, and we have archive, assignments, live reporting, budgeting, publisher, workflow, data warehouse, get data, and settings. And one thing to note is that these options are going to vary depending on what you've purchased. So similar to the BI360 on-prem version, you have to purchase different modules. So reporting versus budgeting versus the publisher, all of that is sold separately. So depending on what you guys have purchased, that's what's going to change what you see here in your menu, as well as what you've been given permission to see. So you may own the data warehouse, but maybe you don't want your report designers to be seeing the data warehouse and manipulating the data there. So they may only see these live reporting tabs. So in case you guys aren't seeing all of these, that is why. Let's go ahead and jump down to the bottom here, and let's take a look at our settings. So I have a few options here. Administration, since I am an administrator in this tenant, I'm going to see a few different options here. So I'll see initially this overview, which shows the data warehouse, the BI360 data warehouse as my primary integration here. And this can vary depending on how you guys do your initial integration to your data source. We just have a data warehouse for our connection here. You can also grab your version here as well. If I wanted to add other integrations from here, I could do so by clicking this add button. Okay, so for companies, since this is an integration to a data warehouse, it just says data warehouse, even though I may have multiple companies inside my data source, whether that be an ERP like Dynamics GP or D365 Business Central. I may have multiple companies there, but I will just see my data warehouse here since that's how I've chosen to connect my data. And then users here, I just have myself, but adding users in the cloud portal is really easy. All you have to do is enter an email address here, and then that's how you would add those users. So I can just come in here, type in that email address, click the add button, and that's just gonna send off an email to my users, and then all they have to do is accept that email and it's gonna launch them into this portal here. So if I click on my user, I can see all of my different permissions here. And this is where you can kind of modify each user's access. And the first one you'll see here is this roles. So the roles are an easy way for you to classify your users and how you want them to have access. So I'll jump over here into this roles tab and you'll see there's only users here. And users is a default one that comes from Solver. So by default, nothing's turned on. So you'll have to go in here and manually turn on what you want for these user roles. But I could add in multiple ones if I wanted to have data warehouse administrators, if I wanted to have just my report designers. It will make assigning security to your users much faster. So to add users to the roles, I would just highlight which role I want to modify. And then I would come in here and I would just add in that user, that member. Right now it's just my name that's been assigned here. And then I could come down here and modify the permissions. And so this is going to impact any user that's been assigned to that role. So the first one you have is, can they download Excel files from these? Can they drill into the data we have? Can they manage categories, which we'll discuss a little bit later? Can view vouchers is referring to one ERP system called Visma in particular. If you are not connecting to that ERP, then you can have this feature turned off. And do they have full data access? Do they have full visibility basically? And then can they manage your connections? Can they manage your data connections? And then you'll see under data access, it says role has full data access permission and has access to all companies. That is referring to this one here. If I were to turn this off, that's going to change the information down here. And I could get really into the nitty-gritty details here if I wanted to on what kind of data access I wanted. You can filter that down depending on the level of security that you guys want to implement. For now, I'm just going to leave it at full data access for myself. So jumping back into my user here, you'll see that this looks identical to the role we just looked at. So when you're setting up your new users in here, I do recommend setting up your roles first and then just adding your members to that role. So that way you don't have to come in here and modify this for every single one of your members or every single one of your users. It becomes a lot more efficient if you just assign them to the roles that you've already pre-configured. Okay, so lastly here we have our licensing, and this is where you would come in here and you can see all of the modules that you've purchased and then how many licenses you bought per each module. So if I only have a couple data warehouse managers, or if I only have a couple report designers, and then moving these licenses around is super easy. All I have to do is just uncheck it, and then that makes that available then for reassignment to another user. So you'll notice here that when I added this report designer, it does add some of these by default, like the archive, live reporting, and so on. But you can have other licenses just for someone, let's say, to have access to the archive or to live reporting. So some of those are individual. This all just boils down to what you have purchased and what types of users you've purchased from Solver. This is where you would come in and would unassign or reassign any of these licenses, and you can do some shifting around depending on what's was needed for your business at that time. So pretty easy to come in here, but you would just need to be an administrator to manipulate these. Okay. So we looked at administration, and now I just came in here under user and I clicked user settings. So this is where I'm looking at my personal profile, and I can change my password in here. I can change my language, and then I can also change my notification settings. Let's see, there it goes. So I can turn on or off my notifications, and I can also modify any notification banners, referring to the notifications that I get up here, whether or not I want to see them on my phone or my tablet. Okay, so these options below here are pertaining to your individual modules. So and we'll discuss these a little bit more in detail here, but the archive, that's more of a sharing module. So that's when someone has shared a report with me in the archive. Assignments, has someone assigned something to me, has it been approved or rejected in a workflow, and then notifying you when someone comments on your activity log. And lastly, your publisher. This can be whenever you have a publisher job that fails. So this is kind of a personal preferences here, whether or not you guys want to be notified for each of these, but this is where you come in here and you do that. And again, this is per user, so this won't impact any other users based on the settings that you choose here. Okay, so let's begin in the live reporting tab here. So this is where your report designers will spend most of their time. And you can see I kind of have a little library here going of all these different reports. And so we have our reports here, and then I can search for these reports in here. And your recents here, up in the upper left-hand corner here, these are showing reports that have been viewed in the past 3 days. So I would just say that if you're searching for a report here, just make sure that you're looking through all and not through recent in case some of your reports aren't showing up. And then I can also change the view that I have here. You'll see that I can toggle between having my tile view or my list view. So depending on how I prefer to view my templates here, you can change your view. And then in the upper right-hand corner here, I have two options. I have upload or new. Upload would be uploading a BI360 template, and then new would be generating that new BI360 template, which would be in Excel. So let's say I click new here, and then for company, it's just showing me data warehouse, but depending on your integration here, if you were seeing different data sources or different companies within your integration, then I could, change the drop down here to say test or production, whatever it may be. And then I'll give my report a name here. So I'll call this test, and then I'll click create. And now you'll see it's already opening my report here. When you have users that are in here for the first time, when they click new and they try to launch a report, it's actually going to prompt them to install BI360. Now you can see here I already have BI360 Report Designer installed, but if I don't, I'd get a prompt saying, do you want to install this version? And then you will need your Windows user to have local admin rights to install that BI360 reporting tab for the first time. But then after that, it's a super simple install. Just right there, it launches Excel for you. And then you can see here, I now have a BI360 reporting tab here. And that's all you have to do to launch a new template or a new report. And we're already into BI360. So I'm going to go ahead and close this, and we'll jump back into our cloud portal here. Okay, so the first thing that I want to show you is how to run these reports or open these report templates right here from the live reporting tab. So what we can do is we can hover over any of these. You'll see that there's a play button that populates here. So if I want to go ahead and run one of these reports, all I need to do is come in here and click this play button. And it's going to go ahead and open it up. And right now it's running it for the most recent parameter that I entered, which was for 2021 July. And I can come here and I can change any of these periods, but that is how I would go ahead and just run the report. And then I can view this report here inside my portal, and I can drill into any of this data if I wanted to. Okay, so now we're looking here at our test report that we've created back in the portal. And I want you to notice a few things here. With this report selected, you'll see that there's a check mark in the upper left-hand corner, and there's also a blue border around it. That signifies that that report has been selected. And if you're ever going through all your reports and you're not sure how many you've selected, it does tell you at the top of your screen here how many you have selected. So now that we have our test selected here, you'll notice that we have some new options at the upper right-hand corner of our screen. And the first one here is the open option. And the open option is the exact same thing as pressing this play button. So when you either click the open button or click the play button, it's going to run this report inside your portal here, inside your browser. You can, however, click this drop down here, and you can also run this report in Excel. So if you want to see those results in Excel, this will launch an Excel workbook with that template for you. Our next option here is the edit button. And the edit button is only going to be an option when we have one report selected. You cannot modify multiple reports at the same time, only when you have one. So when I click edit here, it's going to launch our Excel workbook again. You need to edit your reports inside Excel rather than inside the portal. And then we also have duplicate here. So the one thing with Solver and the Cloud Portal to be aware of is that you can have users editing the same report at the same time, which means that whoever saves last will be the one whose report is saved. So to avoid modifying the same report and then having someone lose all the work that they put into it, we recommend that you create these templates. So do a trial balance template, balance sheet template, and then whenever you want to create any modifications or create your own version, you can just come in here, select this template, and then click duplicate, and then make your own version. That's just one way to know that you're not stepping on anyone's toes and you're not going to accidentally overwrite anyone else's work. Then we have the delete button here, and the delete button here is going to remove this report or this template entirely. There is no recovery bin or recovery trash can, so I would say be very careful when you are deleting your reports here. And it will also delete it for other users that you have shared these reports with. And then here we have publish, and you'll notice that on some of these tiles here, there's this white corner icon here, and some of them do not have them. This signifies that it's a draft, meaning that it has not been published yet. So if I have shared a report with you and I make some modifications and I save it, it'll save as a draft here, and only I can see those changes. If I want you or anyone who I've shared this report to see those changes, I'll need to come in here, select that report, and then click publish. And now you'll see that button is gone. So next to publish, we have categorize. And categorize is basically going to be putting your reports here into these different groupings. You'll see on the left-hand side that we have some groupings here, and you can create these based on whatever makes sense for your business. You'll notice that we have some high-level ones and then some children or subcategories here as well. And to create a category, all you need to do is come in here and click New. And then we'll call this one Test. And you don't need to give it a description, that's optional. See at the bottom here, we also have another option, which is whether or not to choose a parent category. This is an option because I have already created a demo category. So that's why I can either have it roll up into demo or I can have it stand alone as its own category. So I'm just going to do that, and I'll leave it there and click Create Category. Now you'll see I have two different categories here that I have created. And I also have all of the categories beneath here that have been shared with me. Currently, any reports that I put into these categories, they're still private to me. I have not shared these categories. So if I wanted to categorize my test report, let's say, I would come in here, I'd select my report, I'd click Categorize, And then I'll just select which one of these I want to dump it into. So I'll click Test, and then I'll click Apply. And now that test report is in my test category. In order to share my categories, I would just need to come in here and highlight that category, and then you'll see there's a few options here. This helps you share it, and I can share it with either roles or with individual users. And then I can also edit it if I want to modify the name of it or change the way it falls in my outline here. And lastly, I can also delete it by clicking that trash can. So I'm going to jump back into my report here. Okay, and I'll go down to test. And then next to categorize, we have the option for add to package. A package is a collection of reports that you can run all at once. So if I know that I have a group of reports that I want to run every Monday morning, but I don't want to sit here and have to click through each one to get those results, what I can do is I can just select a few reports and then click add to package. So I'll select test and maybe this trial balance and a revenue trend, and I'll click add to package. I'll create a new package. I'll call this one demo. Click add. And then you'll see here at the bottom, now we have a new package. The purple color here signifies that it's a package as opposed to an individual report. And then when I click run on this, it's just going to run all of my reports. So let's see. Okay, I'll choose my parameters here. Maybe I want to see all of these, and that period looks fine to me. So I'll go ahead and I'll click run. And now you'll notice that I have those 3 reports that I selected for my package here on a different tab inside my report. So you can view them all at once. It just saves a little bit of time so you're not having to go in there and run each of these individually, and you can kind of just review them all in one spot here. Okay. All right, and then lastly, we have a few more options here. Download. This is going to download your template in an Excel file onto your machine. This is going to be the template and it won't be the results of the report that we just ran. You can also upload a template. If I want to begin inside Excel, I can build a BI360 report template there, and then I can upload it into my portal here. And then lastly, you have new, which we already covered. That's just going to launch a blank BI360 report for you into Excel. Now I'd like to take a look at some of the options that we have after we run these reports. So I'm going to head and select a report that I have already generated. So there's already more in this template here, and I'm just going to go ahead and run this. And it's going off the entity and the period that I've run it with previously, and I can see all my results here. So if you look in the upper right hand corner here, you'll see that we have some similar options and some new options. The edit in Excel is going to let you edit this template, similar to the way you would when looking at these reports. Templates all in your live reporting tab. You can also delete the report here. You can export this report to Excel, or you can download it as a PDF. This is going to give you those results. So it's going to give you this report as you run it according to whatever parameters you've chosen here. You can also print this report out, or you can leave a comment. Now in BI360, you actually use these comment templates, which you can configure yourself. This is a default solver one. And I'm going to apply this one here, and you'll see I can add my comments here for other users to see. And so I can just type my comment in, and then whenever I'm done, I'll just go ahead and I'll click Save to add it to the sheet. And now anyone else who views this report or views these report comments will have the ability to see them so long as this report has been shared with them. Okay, so I'll collapse that down. And you'll see this also just opened up a separate tab for our comments here. We also have this share option here. I can share it with different users or different roles, or I can share it with the individual users that I have inside BI360 here. If you want to share a report with someone that maybe doesn't have access to BI360, you can just download this report to Excel and then send it via email as a static report to other users. So you can still share these reports even if someone does not have access to BI360. And then you have this send to archive option. And the archive is basically a library that saves your reports as instances. So I have run this report with these 4 entities and within this period. So when I click send to archive, it's going to send these results with those filters to my personal archive here, which is another module that we have right up here. So if I want to go back and look at maybe a report for a certain date or a certain point in time, I don't have to go in here and rerun it with all those filters again. I can actually just go into my archive and see that instance right there and look at the numbers right away. We also have this history option here, which just gives us a history of this report, saying that I ran this report at this time with these filters and that it was archived. And lastly, we can just close out of it, and that's just going to bring us back to our live reporting section here. Okay, so let's take a look at our archive module now, which I referenced a little bit earlier here. So the archive is where we send our reports after we've run them. Depending on the filters, the parameters that I put on them, I can see my results here inside my archive. And you can see here that I can also toggle between my tile view and my list view, similar to the live reporting. I can also come in here and search my archive in case I have more than 3 reports in here. Do any actual company. Okay. So now you'll see here in bold is a new one that I've sent to my archive that I haven't viewed yet. So I can go ahead and here. I can select it once more. I can open it. I can delete it from my archive. This is not going to delete my template or this report. It is just deleting this instance of the report from my personal archive. I also have this add to playlist option, which you'll notice on my left-hand pane here, I have playlists. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to select both of these. Your playlist is similar to a package. It's just your personal list that you want to run or you want to look at these reports. So if I want to review these reports with my execs or with my C-suite, let's say I want to save these instances. So I'll just come in here and I'll say exec review. I'll give it an OK. And now I'll see that I have this playlist that I can add these reports to. So I've selected both of these. I've clicked add to this exec review, and I should see them in my exec review here, which I do. And you'll notice that now I have the options to show playlist, add to playlist. If I want to remove one of these from my playlist, if I want to remove the 12-month rolling, I could do so. The other options you have in here are just to download. So that's again going to be downloading the actual instance of that report. So if I go back into my exec review here, you can see I can either edit the name of it or I can delete it. Showing playlist is basically going to show this report to me in that instance. And I can just exit out of it here. I can again delete the playlist from here. I can add to it. So maybe I want to add another playlist. I can do so. And then if I wanted to remove the individual templates, I would do so by clicking remove from playlist. The parameters here are just showing the available filters. As you may know already, in BI360, your parameters are basically what you are filtering your reports by. So in this case, the only filter that I have to select when I run my report is the period filter. And then I can see I run it that one report, maybe a couple different instances. I can see those right here. Okay, and that is the archive. So just going down the list here, you'll see that we have assignments. Assignments are similar to archives, but they are more for the budgeting side. So I could assign something, maybe I want to have a budget approval go through. I can change the amount, and then it'll go off to my manager, and then they'll get their assignment here, whether or not they have to approve it. This can all be set up within your workflow module, which can be enabled here inside your cloud here. And I would just come in here, I would click new for a workflow. I'd have to give it a name. Who do I want the reviewer or the approver to be? And then I could actually select templates based on what I have set up here inside my individual BI360 cloud portal. Okay, and then that's again usually related to your budgeting module. And your budgeting module here, you'll see, is very similar to your live reporting one. This is an overview of all of my budget templates. Again, same permissions with the categories, selecting them, whether or not I want to duplicate them, categorize them, assign them to different users, see my assignments, or download, upload. And then you have your publisher module here. Your publisher, again, is whether or not you purchase this module individually, but your publisher would be running those individual jobs. I could have my certain reports that I run every Friday afternoon. I can automatically have them be published and just go off on their own, just depending on whether or not I have purchased this publisher module. So I could just say test company is defaulting to data warehouse, since that's the only option that I have here. Again, I can browse my available templates. I'll just go ahead and say my 12-month rolling, and maybe I want my demo package. Okay. And then what parameters do I want to have them? For my periods, I'll just say 2020-01. I can also change the recipient is. For now, we'll just leave it as this default recipient. And then I would come in here and I could select the individual users or the roles. So I'll come in here and I'll select my colleague Audra to be the recipient. And then I'll see that list down here. And then for destination, I can either choose whether or not I want this to go to that user's individual email inbox, or if I just want it to go to their archive. So I can actually send these results to my colleague Audra's archive on the decided date. And then finally, I would just have to select when I want to run this report. So I'll say starting today, maybe at 5 p.m. And then do I want this to reoccur 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, 12 times, and so on. And then when I'm done, I would just need to come in here and click save. And now I know it's been saved, so I can go ahead and click close. If I wanted to, I could run this now. I could let it run on its own, add a new one, edit it, delete it. But that's a pretty quick overview for how you would set up a new publisher job. Okay, and we already took a little bit of a look at workflows. Your data warehouse is going to be probably not for all of your users, not your report designer users, but your data warehouse is where you can manage those integrations and then any of the jobs that you assign to run from those integrations. So what I'm looking at here is an overview of what is inside my data warehouse, and I can switch the view here between my modules or my dimensions. So right now I can see these are the different modules that I've purchased and I've set up. I have AP, AR, I have GL detail, maybe Google Analytics or Salesforce data, whatever other data sources you've decided to incorporate inside your BI360 data warehouse. And then I can see the individual dimensions that are available within each of those modules. And I could even drill into these if I wanted to get more detail on what kind of data is inside those dimensions. I can just click into here and view that data. A lot of this configuration inside the data warehouse here will likely be set up either by Solver or by us at Sikich here. We can configure this for you. Your data explorer here, pretty self-explanatory, but you can explore your data just by choosing whichever module here from the drop-down. Let's say I want to look at my general ledger or my accounts payable data here. I can just come in here, select my module, and then I can just get an overview of all of the detail level or the transaction level. And then if I wanted to filter this, I could certainly do so here just by clicking and dragging any of these headers in here. So let's say I want to go ahead and I want to look at certain accounts. I'll just come in here and click account, drag it into the header. And now I want to say I want to see accounts in, I can either type that in or I can use the lookup. I only want to see my cash account values. And then I'll just come here and click refresh. I'm going to select a range here, and I'm just doing this by clicking and dragging. I'm not using any of my keys. Okay, so now we're seeing results based on the accounts that I have selected in my lookup. The only drawback of something like the Data Explorer here is that there's actually no way to export the data here. You'll see there's no options to send this to Excel for review, so what we'll have to do is just create a report similar to this or drill down similar to this inside our report designer in order to get a report with similar results like this. So it's good for exploring your data, but again, you just can't export it and view it elsewhere. And then underneath our data tab here, we have our integrations that have been set up, whether that's been with a CSV file or if that's been with an ERP connection. This is where I would come in here and I would set up my integration for my data source. Just by clicking new, I can add new integrations if I want to add maybe an integration to an external data source outside of my ERP. Maybe I have a CRM I want to connect it to. I would have to add it through here. Your rules are where you can manipulate or transform your data just through creation of any of these, and you can run them as well or export them, delete them, and that can be maybe a currency translation, for example, within my data sets. And then your jobs can be something like a refresh. You'll see here I've created a GL module refresh, which just means I want my GL data to refresh every night at midnight. And then it lets me know when the next run is, when my last one was, and what the status of it was. So let's say it failed. What would happen is I would go into my event log here and I could see all of the times that it's failed, and I could even see that error message here on the right for why it would have failed. So really helpful for coming in here and seeing maybe what went wrong with any of my integrations or my jobs. And then underneath configuration here, you have your modules again. These are just the ones that I have currently set up here, and it also shows me how many I maybe have left after I purchased them. So I purchased 25 in this example, so I have 10 more remaining. If I wanted to create a new module here, I could do so. Same thing with dimensions, shows how many you've purchased, how many you've used, and you could add more here. Your module schema is going to show you all of your modules and then which dimensions you have underneath or inside each of those modules. And I could either go across all of these, or I could drill down into just one. So maybe I just want to see in my AR and my AP. It's just going to show me the two that I could compare. The green obviously means that it's present, and the gray means that it is not present within that module. Period configuration. This is something that needs to be done at the beginning of your configuration of your BI360 cloud portal. This is just setting up your fiscal years. And then your API connection, this would be if you wanted to connect something like Power BI to BI360. You'd have to connect it in here. And then lastly, we have our Get Data tab here. Again, this would be if I wanted to add a new data source or a new integration connection. I could also add it through the Get Data tab here. And that is a high level of your BI360 cloud portal here. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. My email is elaine.foley@sikich.com. I'm more than happy to answer any BI360 questions. Or if you wanted to have a session where we could dive deeper into the data warehouse and how to set up those integrations with those jobs, we can certainly offer that as well. So thank you guys for listening today, and hopefully you will have seen the benefits of the BI360 Cloud Portal.